All right. So I want to just jump straight in as we go today. Hi guys, hope you can hear me. My name is Laith Wallace, and I really want to just share with you some key things that I've seen from Figma that I think are going to be super beneficial for all of us today. So let's just jump straight in, and then we're going to go through all of the key things that I've seen from their new platform that I think is going to be really good. So Figma 2023, their updates, man, I gotta say, this is some of the best updates I've seen from Figma coming through. It's going to be super beneficial for us as designers, and specifically how they've kind of brought design and development closer together. So I'm gonna just jump straight in and just check it out. I think I might make this as like a two-part video. There's a couple things that I'm going to touch on today, and then I'm going to do another video where I go deeper into it. So one of the key things I can see is this kind of design and development, or this development mode, which is really interesting. A new space in Figma where you can specifically have your development processes a lot clearer, easier to understand, and it's more helpful for developers as well. So I'm still getting my head into it. I'm still going through it. One of the key things I can see is like this big switcher that's changed. So when you're in Figma and you've got some designs that you've worked on, so I've here some, prepared earlier ideas. So let's say I've got a design that I've worked on. I can boom, switch to developer mode. And then while it's in developer mode, on the right hand side here, you could see how the panel has completely changed. So from dev resources that can be connected in, from Jira, Storybook, GitHub, etc. The way that padding shows up and the way you get this kind of preview of the component itself, right? And then let's say that component is connected to multiple different states, then you can actually have this playground where you can open the playground. And then here is now where you can actually go through and test it out. So actually, let me go a bit deeper. Let me check out this component. Let's look at it, do it one level up. And then here we can now go and make changes based upon however you've designed it. So let's say my default state, I've got a changer here for, buttons, icons, etc. So then a developer can basically open up the playground and begin to play around with some of the components that you've created to see how they are, which is quite interesting. They get this CSS actual preview. Obviously text is previously how it was, any connections to any tokens that you may have in colors, etc., and any assets created as well, with the ability to have a quick export functionality as well, which is like really good. You can see any plugins that you may want to quickly connect in. So you might have a link to Linear or link to Storybook, GitHub, etc., and you might want that quick connection in, but you can do it from the developers panel, so specifically for developers. So the kind of like I can kind of see what Figma is doing here, or what they're doing. It's quite interesting. So you can see where Figma is basically saying we want development to come a little bit closer to design, and design to be closer to development. I actually really love this. So basically what I like, this developer status. So let me show you how it works. So if I just turn this off at the moment, what happens is when you have a design, so let me just take this out. When you have a design, press Command Shift on your keyboard or Command S on your keyboard, and you get a section, the ability to open up and create a section. That's not the only way you can do it. You can go up in here in the frames panel and it says section. So it's just Shift and S, Shift and S. I said Command Shift before, apologies, Shift and S. So you may label that, you might label that dashboard or home or whatever you're labeling. Now, once you've labeled it, I always like to give my things a little, my sections a background color. Once I've given it a background color, I also like to give it a stroke color, make that stroke color a bit thicker as well. And I like to round it off to me being a bit pedantic, but yeah, maybe not so heavy. You don't have to do all that, guys, but that's just me. So what I like to do is that once that's super clear and I've got that in a section, whatever frame or a combination of frames. So you can see here, I've got one frame. Over here, you can see I've got a combination of frames. You see here's one I've made earlier, as they say. So now I'm working on this one. For example, I wouldn't use a blue. I would most probably say, hey, I've got my design system in place. This is ready for development. So I'd most probably make the stroke color match that as well, so that it stands out when it's actually on page. But over here on the actual section frame, you could see mark as ready for dev. click on that button. On the left hand side, you now get this green like developer icon, that emoji that shows, which like back in the day, I shouldn't say back in the day, it only launched like today for us. If I'm working on a journey, I would have an actual section where, you know, some form of like ready for dev would show for people. I would actually like on the different stages in the journey, I'd say whether it's live or whether it's currently in progress, depending upon what developers are still working on. And then once that emoji shows and it's ready for dev, then you literally can click on this little icon and say open dev mode, or you can click on this top right icon. So you turn that icon on and off, that goes into dev mode. You can click on this, boom, now you're in dev mode, click on it again, remove ready status if you wanted to. Personally, you don't need to. Once it's in dev mode and your status is ready, you're good to go. Then you can double check, click inside of the frame of what you've been working on and see how things are on the actual inspect panel. And this is actually very helpful for a designer, because let's say you had a combination of components. I'll give you an example. So if I go out of dev mode and I go to like, basically, let's turn this off. So boom, it's in dev mode, open dev mode, remove ready status. In my layers panel, let's turn off dev mode again. In my layers panel, still getting used to it, guys. Forgive me. Click on components. Well, I shouldn't say click on components. I've made a page for components. So when I make pages for components, normally it's way more organized than this. This is just really messy. Let's use let's say a progress bar component that I have here. In the actual progress bar component, you can see all of the statuses here ready of what you've created. Now, if I go to my design, and let's use a state where, okay, here we go. On this page of the design, you can see where the progress bar is showing. I would then go into dev mode, click on that. And then within this now, you can open the playground. And when you open the playground, all of the states for that actual component that you've created will show as well, which is really, really clever. So I really like how they've connected it closer to what you're doing as a designer. Let me just sharpen it up a little bit. And it's a really great way to get design and dev much closer together. So fundamentally, this is going to be super great new update for designers. There's a few more I wanted to talk about, but before I actually go into that, let me just make sure that I'm touching on all of their updates. So that design dev, I know we kind of hammered it a little bit here. I'm going to go do deep videos when I go even deeper into this, because I really love this feature. The ability to actually connect your plugins in is super helpful. Bringing Figma closer into your workflow for engineers, that's really, really great. Another thing that I'm still getting my head into are variables, and I'm still working out like how variables will work. But you could see here in their variables playground, we'll get back to that. But one of the key things that they talk about with variables is the ability, if I go back to variables collections, is to create these collections. And these would be collections would have a combination of variables inside them. So think of it like colors, spacing values. You might have text values in there, etc., which is super clever. And then when you're building your actual variables, you have to just be mindful about how you label things so that you're super clear as to how things are structured within the file. But what I would suggest is check out their playground file and go in. But what I really find really exciting about this is the modes that you can create. So within variables, you can create a light theme and a dark theme. And as a result, when you have a design, it's really easy to switch between both your light theme and your dark theme. You can see how they've built it here in this file. So you can see light colors for buttons and dark colors, all the colors for the dark theme. So these themes can switch really, really quickly. And basically, I started playing around with it today with one of my team members. And it was as simple as like you change the frame to a dark, you change the background color to dark, and any button that you drop onto any componentized button that you drop onto that frame, as long as you've got the themes in place, it will just inherit all of the colors based upon that theme. It's like really clever. I'm still getting my head into it to make sure I get to understand it properly, but my team member, he's super great, like quick, he picks up things quickly. I need to go through it a couple times and then I get it and then I can teach it and then it super makes sense to me. So I really love this. Like, you've got 2 modes, light, dark, you might have modern, etc., different themes, but this is super clever the way that you've got these different themes. And you can, in a sense, build something once, and if you wanted to switch out the theme, it could be really, really quick as well. So much quicker than just having to change colors individually across the whole thing. So it's really clever how how they've done this. I'm playing around with this still, but definitely download this file from Figma. It's called a Variables Playground. It will really help you understand how to use their new features even better. Another new feature that I think is going to be super beneficial for many of us as designers is this ability to, they basically upgraded the auto layout functionality, but more specifically, it's in the ability to wrap components within auto layouts. I think, where did I read about it again? So advanced, I think it was either maybe here where you can have like closer alignment. They also have, I don't know if you can see here on the left hand side, they've added in this extra functionality here. So where you've got like left, vertical, horizontal, now you've got the ability to just wrap within an actual frame, or sorry, I shouldn't say frame, within an auto layout, which is really clever. So another piece of functionality that I can't get my head around. Sorry, let me not say can't get my head around. I just got to play with it. So this is something that I'm definitely going to be going into and playing around with a bit more. Let me see if I can just do it while I'm here, potentially. So let's come out of dev mode, obviously. I'm in my playground. Let's drop some shapes in. Give that color. Boom. Let's give that a color. Let's give all these different colors. Let's see what we can do, because it should be quite straightforward. So I've actually created, let's say you've got a combination of things inside, you know, call that container. That's container number 1. So you've got vertical, let me not say that. Yep, vertical layout, horizontal layout, right? But now you've got the ability to wrap. So when it wraps, it will just automatically drop down onto that second line. And you can see how everything starts to follow that. Which is really clever. So everything within the auto layout frame, or the auto layout, I should say, starts to wrap within. Now, if it was just on horizontal, what would happen is, unless I set everything in here to basically fill the frame, you know, if you want to maintain your height and width, then that doesn't really work. So now you can see everything's resizing within the frame, but that's only because I've put everything to fill within the frame. Another way you could do it is set the container to hug, but it only hugs the content within. But even though it hugs the content within, once you take that same frame, or that auto layout frame, I should say, and you start to move it, it becomes fixed. So this ability to wrap keeps everything contained and constrained within that auto layout, which is really clever, and allows you to be able to wrap within a frame, which is clever. So yeah, this is super good. Definitely something I'm going to be utilizing a lot more. So it allows you to really think about how you build your components a lot better. So let's say you had like a filter section, and in that filter section on a web page, you have multiple different options, and then you might want to show it in tablet form, mobile form, but it's the same filter. You might want options to wrap or something like that, like a blog page with all these different filters that go horizontally when it's in desktop, but it might wrap when it's on mobile. Potentially that could be a kind of